Look at almost any debate about Turkish culture today, and you'll hit the same exhausting wall. Are we Eastern or Western? Are we an Islamic society or a secular European one? We treat these as lifestyle choices on a menu. But this cultural tug-of-war is broken. We are arguing using words whose actual definitions we have forgotten. Take a word like millet. We use it today to mean nation, but historically it defined a religious community rather than an ethnic group. The historian İlber Ortaylı diagnoses this condition as a massive cultural blockage. It is an identity crisis born from historical amnesia. When a society loses its time and space references, its history and geography, it loses the ability to define its own character. This results in a society that struggles to plan for the future because it can no longer accurately identify its own origins. Identity cannot be selected from a modern catalog. Without understanding the deep historical layers that formed it, a society remains an empty shell. The first layer takes us back to the steppes of Central Asia. This foundational layer was built on the complex, dynamic organization of equestrian nomadic life. There is a phrase you hear often: every Turk is born a soldier. Historically, this was the literal reality of pragmatic survival on the steppe, where military organization was the only way to manage large groups in motion. This inherent military structure meant communities could pack up, move across continents, and rapidly reassemble themselves to integrate into completely foreign geographies without being destroyed. This capacity to invent intermediate solutions and organize under pressure provides the underlying skeleton of the culture. But a skeleton is just a frame. It gives you the mobility to conquer and the resilience to survive, but it takes more than a frame to create a lasting civilization. To do that, it needed flesh. That flesh was added when this nomadic structure arrived in the Mediterranean basin and absorbed the ancient civilizations already established there. Ortayli defines the Ottoman Empire as the direct, functioning continuation of the Roman Empire, the Third Rome. When Fatih Sultan Mehmet conquered Constantinople, he deliberately adopted the title Kaiser-i Rum, the Caesar of Rome. He viewed the Ottoman state as the inheritor of a universal mission. The culture merged Arabic language, Persian literature, Greek institutions, and Roman administrative layers under a universal Islamic umbrella. In this era, millet referred strictly to a religious community. Ethnic identity was secondary to one's place in this faith-based system. The Galata Bridge in the late Empire proved this Mediterranean reality. Here, merchants and travelers from 3 continents intermingled amidst modern carriages and traditional trade. This Mediterranean synthesis is the flesh of Turkish identity. Modern attempts to categorize it as purely Eastern or Western are historically illiterate. But universal empires could not survive the age of nationalism. In the 19th and 20th centuries, that centuries-old Roman framework was violently shattered. The empire's collapse resulted in massive territorial losses. Millions of refugees fleeing the Balkans and Caucasus moved into Anatolia, bringing the trauma of displacement. The French thinker Ernest Renan observed this and noted that the Turks lacked a national literature to process this tragedy into a shared collective memory. The question, "Who are we?" emerged as a reflex of survival. It was the only way to hold together a population that had just lost its universal imperial home. The response was Kemalist nationalism. It acted as a protective skin, a cultural boundary emphasizing shared language and education over ethnic descent. Modern Turkish nationalism is a necessary shell constructed over the trauma of a lost empire. Ortayli warns that superficial modernization, like learning waiter's French or English, while ignoring your own history, is a hollow pursuit. To possess a true identity, a society must consciously accept its entire anatomy: the nomadic skeleton, the Mediterranean and Islamic flesh, and the republican skin. If you ignore the Arabic, Persian, and Greek influences of your past, you have no anchor point in the present. History dictates the boundaries of identity. A society that cannot bear the full weight of its past will find its present sense of self remains permanently fractured.